Good morning, and here we are. This is Coffee and Cookie with Rabbi. You know, of all the Christmas songs, there's one that is particularly, absolutely, theologically correct. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. I'd like to encourage you to pull that song up, look at the words, and maybe even sing it a few times. Because Emmanuel, which is today's word, means God with us, or God tabernacles with us, or God dwells with us. You know, it's really a big, important theological position. This idea of God with man. But before we get underway, there's the coffee. Thank you, Sherry. Here's world famous J. Lee Bob the Builder cookie. And it's rumored I'm getting a fresh batch today. Ha! What do you think of that? Very good. Now, let me tell you, J. Lee Bob Builder, they make my cookies because they love me, of course, and Roxanne. Yeah, Roxanne loves me too. Anyway, they make my cookies sometimes several months in advance. And of course, they put some in the freezer. But even when they're several months old, it is still the best cookie, especially when you dip it in the coffee. Now, let me tell you something. The only difference between the fresh ones and those that are several months old is how long I have to dip them. 3 seconds versus 4 to 5 seconds. Anyway, today's topic is no Hanukkah, no Christmas. Well, how's that possible? I'll explain it to you. Bear with me just a moment. You see, throughout human history, in my opinion, Satan, Sitra, the one from down below, has attempted to hinder the Messiah's coming. Really. First time, which we know for sure, without question, is Hanukkah. Or maybe it was Egypt. Or it was the Babylonians. What am I talking about, right? You see, every time you attempt to eliminate the Jewish people, you eliminate Christmas. And so if you can eliminate Jewish people, number one, there's no reason for the Messiah to return. Or number two, if there is no Jewish people, there would not have been a Messiah in the first place. One born of the Virgin Miriam. Notice they didn't call her Miriam. That's what her mother called her. But here's how it plays out. Hanukkah was a struggle, both politically and religiously, for Israel. They had become occupied by the Greeks, and the Greeks had a beautiful sort of culture. Involved sports, and there's a real appreciation of the human body and its beauty and its form and such. And this was easily bought into by many of the younger Jewish people. And for almost 200 years, Greece remained a dominant influence in Israel. And when you look at the history, you would find that it took the Maccabees, some hardcore religious Jews, it took them in order to be able to break away. You see, there was some point in which the Jews were not permitted to look so Greek. You see, circumcision was considered a bad thing to the Greeks. And so when a Jewish young man wanted to compete in the games and live a Greek life, it was obvious there was something missing. You got it? Anyway, and so what took place is many of them tried to restretch their skins, so to speak. And I don't know about you, but it just sounds horrible to me. Anyway, but with the Maccabees, okay, when they came on, it was a return, a radical return back to Jewish tradition, lifestyle, and the Torah. In fact, it was so radical, okay, that it started the Maccabean War. Now, if you want to understand more about Hanukkah and the Maccabean War, you need to read the book of Maccabees 1 and 2, which is in the Apocrypha, those other writings of biblical history. Not necessarily scripture, but historically, for the most part, correct. If there had not been the Maccabees, then all of Israel would have been sucked in to the Greek form of life and culture. They would have been assimilated easily. In fact, many of the young Jewish men of that particular time period and people of that time period did not particularly want to go back to religious life. Now, this is a little lesson we can learn today, that there are those who are content having a form of godliness and yet denying the power thereof. This is important for us to understand, because for the Maccabees, it was return to the Lord. And does it take such an upheaval to get our attention and make us return to the Lord and to the ways of the Scripture? But anyway, here's the thing about the Maccabees. If the Maccabees had failed, or if Israel had been assimilated, there would have been no Christmas. No need for a Christmas, because there had been no more historically, spiritual, biblical, religious Jews, period. Now, the Maccabees, interesting enough, paved the way to remove several enemies. Most people do not realize that when the Maccabees were done with the Greeks, and the Greeks finally left, the Maccabees turned right around and took care of the last of the Philistines. The Philistines existed even before Israel existed. They were already in the land even before Israel had the 12 sons. So, the end of the Philistine and their period was with the Maccabees. They were either killed or driven out. So anyway, that's why we don't hear anything about the Philistines after the Maccabean period. Okay? Now, how does this play into Christmas? Once again, as I said, if there had been no Hanukkah, there had been no rededication of the temple, no rededication of the people to the Lord, there would have been no Messiah. Simple. But history has tried to stop it still, even since then. Are you aware that there's a cemetery that was intentionally planted on the eastern side of the Temple Mount in order to stop the Messiah from coming through the gate beautiful? Why? Because they know a religious Jew, a Cohen, a priest, okay, would not that you should to Cohen, he's House of David, anyway, would not walk through a cemetery and defile himself in order to go up the steps to the eastern gate. However, if you read in the book of Zechariah, an earthquake takes place and splits, making a pathway from Mount of Olives to the eastern gate. That's God. He's so cool. You know, I just appreciate how clever he really is. But that was one attempt afterwards to stop the Messiah from returning. The idea of stopping the temple from being rebuilt is to stop the Messiah from returning. And a Holocaust was an event that was to stop the Messiah from returning. How? If you eliminate the Jews, there's no need for a Messiah. If you're a religious Jewish person, not a Messianic, but if there are no Jews, then the Messiah can't come. Now, even today, Bethlehem is not in the hands of the Jewish people. In fact, there are no Jewish people, zero, live. Where's my zero? no Jewish people living in Bethlehem. Now, this is important to understand because if you're Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox and you're waiting the Messiah, he can't come out of Bethlehem currently. So, historically, if I go to the book of Daniel, chapter 9, I'd find out he already came. And it actually gives me the exact time frame. He had to come between here and here. From the rebuilding the walls in the city to the destruction of the walls in the city. And that only leaves Yeshua as the Messiah, if you follow the time frame. But there are many attempts by many people to hinder the return of the Lord. I got news, he's still coming. I got news, you can't hinder. I got news, he's great and glorious and bigger and more powerful than all of us put together. Do I have a hope in the Messiah? Of course I do. Do I have confidence? And I just hope I have confidence in the return of the Messiah. To such an extent, I commit my life to him and to his service, just like you. Now, this season, interesting enough, Chanakkah begins on Christmas Day. It is the day in which, for a moment, both Jews, religious, Christians, Messianics, can have a celebration to God's glory. Now, I don't believe that Jesus was born on December 25th. I'll just be honest. Okay, it doesn't fit with the historical timeline. But if you want to celebrate the birth of our Messiah, I'm with you. Make a place at the table for me. Okay? I don't think the day is as essential as the message itself. The message is, O come, Israel. Emmanuel. O come, Emmanuel. And ransom captive Israel. But go ahead and look at the whole song. Listen to it. Remember, Emmanuel is God's promise. It's prophecy all rolled up into one name. Emmanuel. Well, today is the day the Lord has made, and we're going to prosper from it. So, let us get on with our day by starting by hit those buttons, like, share, okay? Don't forget to follow and donate. Those are all the good buttons, too. The most important button on your screen is the share button, okay? You know, somebody could use a little encouragement? Go ahead and give it to them. So, according to my screen, I might have stopped showing for a moment. But I'm not going to stop talking. Oh, no. Oh, no. So, here's how it plays out. It's time for your blessing. Now, may the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance to you. May give you peace. And thank you for sharing this moment with me. My coffee, my cookie, and you. Best way to start a day. So by God's grace, take care.